Welcome to the Shar Hotline, your no BS, all love hotline to self-confidence, self-love, and a sprinkle of spiritual woo-woo magic. Think of this as your safe space to heal, grow, and tap into your highest self, all while keeping it real, fun, and full of good vibes. I'm your host, Shar, your compassionately candid hype woman and self-love and confidence coach. Here, we're not just talking self-love, we're embodying it. Whether we're unpacking self-sabotage, diving into deep healing, or answering your juicy listener questions, this is your place to feel seen, held, and empowered. So take a deep breath, shake off what's not serving you, and let's get into it. Welcome. Today I have Vicky, who is a body positive advocate who inspires others through her Instagram account, which is at Midsize Asian Queen. What a fabulous name, Vicky. And Vicky weaves in commentary on body image from an Asian American perspective with humor and fun and sass and in a relatable way. And I came across her profile on Instagram and instantly gravitated towards her. I myself have always been a bigger Asian. I'm Chinese Canadian. And it's definitely something that I've always struggled with, just the size I am, and I'm bigger and darker. But then especially from a family of 3 girls, and I'm the youngest, and my 2 sisters look, your typical tiny, petite Chinese Asians. And then there's me. And so I was instantly drawn to Vicky's message, and I love how fun and funny and sassy you are, but also like how much fun you're having with what you're trying to convey in your messaging. So I definitely had to connect with Vicky, invite her on the podcast to talk about self-love in a way of how we're redefining beauty standards, and in particular as Asian women. And so welcome, Vicky. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, on the Shar Hotline. So is there anything you want to say first before I jump into, I have so many questions I want to ask you to get us talking, and I'm sure we're gonna have a great conversation, but anything you want to kind of say first and introduce yourself a bit?
Thanks so much for having me on the podcast. I'm sure we'll delve into it, but since this is probably going to happen at the beginning of the podcast, just want to let listeners know that I wasn't always confident. It was quite a journey to get here. I guess for context, I'm 30 years old. It wasn't really until I was 28 years old that I started exploring how to be more confident in my body. I think I worked on confidence in other areas of my life, like I guess my brains and capabilities. And so it was just really great to take time in my late 20s to do things that I had always wanted to do, that I, for example, we'll probably talk about pageants. Like I entered a pageant, and just taking the time to do things that I wanted to do, to try something new, and to show myself that I can do more than I thought. But I am on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube as Midsize Asian Queen. And the name comes from both in terms of my body size being mid-size, just to tell and share more with people that mid-size is a term that it was really helpful for me to see that term, because I didn't really feel like I quite fit in straight size or in plus size. And then for queen, just, we can be confident queens. And also it's a little bit of a nod on my past pageantry experience.
I love that. You know what? I appreciate you calling that out, because we were born confident as innocent little kids. We were born confident, and then, the world breaks us at some point. So thank you for calling that out, because that's so true, right? And I would say we all have a lot of insecurities. My biggest insecurity that has like consistently been throughout my whole life is my body size. And yes, finding out the term mid-size was really really resonated with me, because not necessarily plus size, and I was like, oh, what's this mid-size thing? Actually, that's why when I learned the term mid-size, then I searched on Instagram, like Midsize Asian, and that's how I found you. Because I was like, this new mid-size term, what is it? So I don't know, for me, for reference, I'm 37 and I'm a size 12, I think, in US standard size. And that's why I was like, oh, this is what, because plus size didn't really resonate with me. And so that's how I found you too. So thank you for calling that out. I'd love to hear about your pageant days, because I think I'd be scared. Actually, you know what? I think I did enter a pageant. I didn't make it very far, so that's why it's like a vague memory. But
You did it.
yeah, I wiped that from memory. But let's get into it. Growing up, what messages did you receive about beauty and body standards and image as an Asian woman? And how did those messages, shape your journey toward your confidence and your self-acceptance?
Yeah, I think for me, I guess like start with my identity being Asian American, and so getting beauty standards from both sides. I think from the American side of growing up in the US, a lot of it was just body size, about being super thin. And I think about who I see as models, growing up watching Disney Channel, like all the kid actors, like they were great, but like their body type all seemed so similar of being very thin as well. And I remember I was watching an episode of That's So Raven, and I guess Raven Simone was a actress on the Disney Channel who was different, in terms of body size, and I think that's why I resonated with her. But she had an episode where she's a fashion designer, and they didn't want her modeling her clothing, and basically was just saying that she was too big. She's not a model size. And I think that was the first time I really like heard like terminology going to like, oh, like body size, like I'm not that body size. And I remember asking my mom, I was like, what's like, who would be considered like a size 2 or whatever? And she like named a friend of mine. I'm like, oh yeah, that person's like so much skinnier than me. And knowing that if I'm not that body size, then I'm not that beauty standard. And then coming from the Asian side would be when I see my family, and I would get commentary, of course, about body size, but I would also get the Asian beauty standard of being more pale. And me growing up, it's not like I intentionally tanned, but like, hey, I'm going to enjoy myself, go outside. And to be honest, no one in my family is like super pale either. And so just being told that I'm too tan, too dark, that when I was a baby, I was so much cuter because I was so pale. Like if they poked my skin, it looked like milk would come out. Like that's how they're saying how pale I used to be. And I was like, yeah, I probably was pale just because like my parents didn't have time to take me outside, you know? And so I guess like those are some early memories of my encounters with beauty standards, both from like my Asian culture as well as the American culture.
Yeah, that's so true. The dark pale thing is definitely a thing for me too. I think I'm naturally darker. And then I do tan, and I love Hawaii. I love tanning. I love being in the sun. And yeah, my grandma legit told me one time I came back from Hawaii, my grandma told me, she's like, you look dirty. She was like horrified.
Oh my God.
Like, oh my goodness. Like, but like, I love it. And then like, it's just, yeah, it's such a contrast based on like North American standards where like you want to have that bronze skin, but then like Chinese standards or Asian standards, like, no, you want to look porcelain doll. Right. And that's so true. And you know what, when I talked about my grandma, I remember my grandma used to like pinch my nose bridge every day because I have like a wider, more Asian nose. Like she just would pinch I don't remember if it was a joke or she actually did this, but like putting a clothespin on my nose, and that was a thing. But my family, we joke, is I have the Wong nose. My dad's side is Wong and my mom's side is Hung, and my my papa was on my Hung side. But she'd always like, oh, you have a Wong nose. Like, we gotta fix that. I remember that. But
There's,
so
like,
those
also
things stick with you.
Yeah, like all these like intricacies, like I mean, you're talking about like facial features, about like nose. I mean, don't get me started with like eye shape is also a huge part of Asian
The
beauty
monolids,
standards.
the double
Yeah.
eyelids. Yeah.
Like I remember growing up, like I don't, it's like such a toxic thought, but I was just like, I guess the one thing going for me is I have double eyelids at least.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of people I've met, because my partner is white. And so his family, they're like, what do you mean double eyelids? Like they had no idea what a monolid is. And I was like, dude, people like go and have surgeries for this. I acquired my double eyelids in high school. Like they just happened. But yeah, I would be like, thank goodness. And like, I'm not going to lie. Even my kids are 1 and 5. Even as like a fresh baby, I was like, oh no, they have monolids. And then they have like super long eyelashes and double eyelids now. And again, I'm like, oh yeah, they got it now. But like, why? Why is that our standard?
Yeah.
And yeah, those features, right, that we really get into and what we're told as kids. And like my sister, I don't know if she wants me to tell this or not, but she was in a pageant. And so she learned to tape her eyelids. So then she has a double eyelid look. And it's, yeah, the things we do and the things we learn. Yeah, it just really shapes you. How did you kind of navigate that between all those beauty definitions and standards and expectations?
I guess growing up not well, obviously, because when I was a kid, it's just like, how do you do with all this? Like, I remember like thinking like, oh, if I was skinnier, maybe people would like me better when I visit China, and like I would get more comments of like, oh my God, you got skinnier, rather than like you're fat. And there was a year I did lose weight. I remember, and I went back like really excited to have people see it. And just looking back now, I'm like, why was I so reliant or looking forward for their validation? And so just growing up, I don't think I was like really good on that. I was just like, I don't really have family in the US. So for me, most of my family is in China. And so like that's like, I want to make sure that like the few times they see me that, they're impressed by me or they see what I can do or whatever and like not always just jump to body features in terms of talking about me because like obviously they don't know me that well because they only see me so few
Mhm.
times and plus my Chinese is not that great. And so there's like
Oh,
what else can
do
they
you
do
in?
but like they could like talk about body image. As for within the US, I just remember growing up with, bullies talking about, that I was fat or that there were two Vickies in a classroom. And so, like, I was the fat one, for example. And so I think I just like, I remember like that getting to me. But as I
Of
got older,
course.
how it helped with dealing with that was that in college, I took a freshman writing seminar. And the one I picked was like a memoir. And it was the first time I wrote about body size and I wrote a body image, and it's on a blog now called Thick Dumpling Skin. I submitted it
Oh
on
my God.
there. But Thick Dumpling Skin, it was all side note was a blog. It's a Tumblr that has a lot of entries that people have submitted anonymously about their experience with body image, and I think they're mostly Asian Americans. And I that was kind of maybe the start of me thinking more critically about my experience with body image and starting to, in a sense, like fight back from those standards. And over time, just becoming an adult, becoming more sure of myself, maybe getting away and from like the toxicity and adults are not as open with bullying and like as kids were and like kind of just gave me more time to grow into who I am and getting the confidence to do things like we talked about pageantry. I've been dancing K-pop. That's been really fun.
Mhm.
Now I'm a content creator influencer, so it's just kind of been an evolution.
Yeah, I think, well, that's a perfect segue into what else I wanted to ask was, taking up space and existing loudly and being loud. Just as an Asian, that's like unheard of Asian woman, right? You're supposed to like sit down and look pretty and don't say anything. But doing things that scare you, pageants and doing your K-pop. I love seeing all your K-pop dance content on your feed. When it comes to doing that, embracing and owning who you are in your presence and showing up, was there a pivotal catalyst moment that you can think of that when you really fully stepped into your confidence? Like you mentioned that blog, that piece you wrote was like a first piece. But yeah, was there like a moment that you really felt you could step into that confidence, and what advice would you give to someone who might still be like hesitant to take up space and to show up?
I I say there's like multiple moments. I think earlier I was talking about it was lately, more recently I've explored more about being confident in my body, etc. But I think the first like ever step I not ever, but like one of the earlier step was in high school. I remember they were looking for like a homeroom representative and I was like, and so it's like there were just little things that I did along the way that I didn't see in the moment that helped me with my confidence. I think it's just like listening for me it's like it's helped to like listen to my gut and be like what are the things I'm actually interested in but like why is it that I'm too scared to pursue it and see if there's baby steps to do it. For example, like I don't know, maybe one is like I guess one example for me is like I really like bodycon dresses, but like it took a while for me to feel comfortable wearing a bodycon dress. And so like that could be one thing of like trying something new and being able to exist loudly in who you are. And how can you bring more of like your I don't know, like for me it was a lot of hidden interests like out for me to pursue it. Like I liked watching K-pop a lot and listening to it and seeing the dances, but it's like I didn't give myself permission back then to be the one to go out and dance.
Mhm.
I would watch a lot of pageantry clips as well, but I didn't give myself permission to enter. I remember in maybe middle school, I don't know, randomly some mail got sent to us about like entering a pageant. And I remember thinking like, oh, that would be cool, so cool internally. But I was like, oh, no, I don't think I'm the right fit for this. And so I guess now talking it through, I think it's just like giving yourself permission to do the things that you want to do. And by giving yourself permission, like for me, I remember I think it was when I was younger shopping. There's a Forever 21 in the mall, and I was just like, I didn't think like I could go shop there for some reason. I just didn't give myself that permission.
Yeah. But that's a huge one of just even listening to your gut and your intuition. Like I'm still really working on that right now too, because we second guess ourselves so much. And in society we do, and especially as women, and especially as Asian women, I talk about that all the time. I feel like every podcast I say that. But like, what do you think helped you like learn to listen to your gut?
I guess for me, it was, I guess, like, what do you do on your own time? For example,
Yeah.
it's like I would just like watch clips of pageants, for example, or I'd watch a lot of K-pop, or I'd watch a lot of beauty tutorials. I guess it's becoming very clear I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube. But it's
Like,
like,
what do you do in hiding? What do you do in secrecy?
kind of, like, to be honest, yeah, I don't think a lot of people
Oh,
knew
that's
that I was watching
true.
clips of pageants and stuff, or like I got really down into a rabbit hole learning about this whole system of Chinese American pageants. I remember hearing about it in college because I saw a friend from high school compete and I was like, what is this? And I thought it was really cool. And that was like from 2014. I didn't compete in one until 2022. And so it's like, I think for me, listening to Guts, it's like, I guess the way you put it, what do you do in secrecy?
Yeah.
Is one way
Oh,
to
but
put
that's
it.
really good. But that's really good because I never thought of that, but that is so true and so accurate, right? Because like now I'm like second guessing myself. It's like I say, oh, filter out the noise and just tune into yourself. It's like, well, how do you do that? But that's so true. Yeah, I think that's a really tangible way of saying how to listen to your gut. And then explore what you really like to do. I think we forget that and we get caught up in what all the different expectations are.
I guess one more point on that is like
Yeah.
also just thinking about what did you like as a kid? Like I
Oh,
guess like I really liked Sailor Moon and maybe I liked it because like she was just so in tune with like doing what it is that she wanted to do. But I also just loved the glitz and glamour of Sailor Moon as well. And I think it was just
ah,
like that glitz and glamour, like I just didn't give myself the permission to glitz and glamorize myself. So I think that also helps, like maybe in addition to what do you do in secrecy and on your free time, but like what did you like as a kid?
oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Yeah, that's a good point. Um, how do you like confidence in practice? Like, and being a practice and not a destination, because I see you do it day to day and you're dancing and all your videos. And, you've done pageants and you've explored new hobbies like K-pop dancing. And I guess it's like tapping into something you used to always like, but you never really explored. And putting yourself out there for the world to see. And a lot of people don't dare. And the younger you didn't dare to do that. What's one thing that's consistently helped you push past that self-doubt and that taking up space and that showing up fear?
I think it's like think about what little things you can do because we feel like, or I feel like I have to do like a big thing sometimes, but it's like that book Atomic Habits, like, 1% better altogether builds up to a lot better. And for example, something I've been working on is wear more colorful clothing. I wore this to work today. Like that was my little thing, or like at work being more open to showing my silly side, for example, or talking with new people as well. I think is also like just little ways that helps myself. Other things are like, I guess like K-pop dancing. I just like was like, oh, I knew about that studio for over a year. That I finally showed up for a class. What was the question again?
What's something that's helped you consistently push past that self-doubt and that fear to show up and take up space and be loud and be seen.
So I guess like two ways to look at, I guess, my earlier answers of the little small things that you can do towards that. But then if you do want to do something big, I think it helps to listen to your gut feelings and your gut interests and like finding a way to do that thing. And also to be mindful, like if it's something new that you're trying, as adults, I think like we might feel like we have to be experts at everything and just having a beginner mindset. Like, of course, I sucked on walk when I walked in my high heels first for the pageant, but I did a lot of practice and I got a lot better. Or right now, the place where I dance K-pop, we're doing a student showcase, so we're practicing a whole dance. And of course, in the beginning, I sucked, and the last practice, I completely messed up where I was in the formation. But I think it's just for me, it's been helpful to think about that how good I feel when I try something new, and if it doesn't go well, like there's another try that you can do.
You have a really good, healthy mindset, I think, when it comes to that, because it's scary to try new things. You're like, oh, how good I feel when I try new things. I was like, it's freaking scary to me to try new things because I'm like, I can't do it until I know I'm going to do it perfectly. But how are you going to perfect it, or whatever perfect is? But like, how are you going to improve if you don't even try? And so I don't know, like that's admirable that you have such a healthy mindset with that, like trying new things. Is there anything you can add to for that? Like, cause it sounds like it's so natural for you.
I guess one thing I would add to that is like, it's okay if you don't like the thing, you don't want to do it again. Go try something else. Like, for example, I went to a pole dancing class. I didn't really like it.
It's so hard.
I didn't like it, and that's fine. And I found K-pop dancing as my way to express myself artistically with movement. I went to another dance in that studio, a Chinese traditional dance with the long sleeves. I did not like
Oh
that.
yeah.
It was like, I guess another way, I guess the asterisk there is like, don't make yourself do the thing just because like you feel like you have to, because then the thing won't be fun. But if there's like an area that you're exploring, for me, I was trying to find maybe some type of dance because I like dancing like in the clubs, but I wanted to like
Yeah.
find a way that I could actually, I don't know, formalize my dancing. And it took me a couple times. Like I went to a pole dancing class and I was like, eh. I went to a Chinese traditional dance. I was like, eh. And then I went to the K-pop class, and that kind of just stuck.
Oh yeah. And it's okay to change your mind. Right. And give yourself that grace. I love dancing. I love dancing. I never did Chinese traditional dance. That's cool. I did hula dancing.
That sounds fun.
But yeah, it is super fun. I did my adult years, so it's that's what I did. That was something scary, but like it's also a lot older ladies with me too, so that helped. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it comes naturally to you, so that's beautiful. So like celebrate that and be proud of yourself for that because it's listening to your gut doesn't come naturally, and I think you've really honed in on that skill and found that. Did you learn that somewhere?
I think it took time. I mean, like I was saying, I was watching pageant videos in secrecy, and it took 2022 minus like 2015, like 7 years before like I actually did something. So like it's not like I've always been that good at listening to my gut, but like there's some areas I probably can do better at listening to my gut. I mean, earlier this year, last year, I kind of had a gut feeling that like, oh, I was feeling really lethargic or like just really tired from work. And I was like slowly trying to figure out ways to exercise. And that's kind of when K-pop dance started happening and trying fun ways to do it. So it's kind of a bit of an evolution to try things. But I think, I guess now you're asking like, oh, how do I do this? I guess growing up, I've always kind of tried different things, whether it's like taking up high school club leadership, or applying to different free programs in New York City for high school students. And then in college, I was like, "Ooh, I got into college. Now I can try some new stuff, fun stuff." Than feeling like I had to do things just for academics. So I got really into food and making food videos back in college. So I think it's fun to do new things. Like we have our whole lives, and I think it would be pretty boring if I just did the same thing every day, every decade, or whatever.
Good for you. That takes guts. And so I think, yeah, definitely celebrate that and be proud of that because I think that doesn't come naturally to everyone. Like I'm scared to try new things. And I always say it took me like 5 years of trying to start my business in hiding to really come out and say I was doing it. So it's hard. I want to kind of go back to like redefining beauty, like with your whole platform and the message you want to get across. Like what stands out to you of what you're doing, the content you're putting out there, and what are like the top, I don't know, pillars are the right word, like your top messages that really are that really speak to your heart right now and what you want to get out there, and what's that message, and then in terms of like redefining beauty standards or not, or whatever it is. Yeah, I'm curious to hear like what's your priority right now with your message that you want to get out there, and why it's
Yeah.
important to you right now.
I think one is just the video visually, like people seeing someone who looks like me can be happy. Because before I started my Instagram, I just didn't see a lot of people who looked like me, who are, living life, being an influencer or content creator. And having that representation is so helpful because growing up, I didn't see a lot of representation of people who looked like me. Or whenever I watch movies, like half in my head, I'm like, oh, am I going to see someone who's Asian in the background? But then when I do, it's like, I'm like, ooh, they're Asian, but I'm like, I just don't really resonate with them, whether they're like super thin or like super pale, etc. Like it just doesn't resonate. Or I guess for me, I'm 5'2", so they're super tall. I'm like, yeah, I don't resonate with that. Or like when I see billboards or like go to a store, and so I think that's like the visual of just like people seeing me being happy, whether it's in a bikini on a beach or dancing, just having that representation visually. As for messages, some messages I want to say is like, I talk about being a fat Asian and kind of just telling helping a lot of people connect with the fact that it's unfortunately a shared experience that family will call you fat. And I think that's what resonated with a lot of people when I made my videos talking about family calling me fat, and so many people resonating with that.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, oh, sad that it resonates with a lot of people, but I guess we can unite together. It's like I think people might just like feel like you're like suffering alone, but actually it's unfortunately a experience that connects a lot of us. And now that we found each other, I want to say messages like, fat doesn't have to be a bad word with all the stigma. Like it can just be a neutral descriptor. Like how can we take that negative meaning out of that word? I also want to spread more awareness of the word midsize also, just so for more people who are like you or me who, we're not straight size, but like I love the plus size models, but at the same time, like I can't wear plus size either. So it's just we're in this weird middle ground, and there is a terminology for us to identify. And lastly, I also want to show that having more self-love and confidence, because I made a recent video of like talking about it's not that my body size makes me confident, it's that like I want to be confident and no matter what body size I am. Like, life happens, like I could gain weight, I could lose weight, or who knows what happens. And, I want to make sure that my confidence isn't a result of my body size, and that my confidence can happen independently, and that can be something that I can rely on throughout life.
Yeah. Okay. So many things came up to me when you were saying that. It's like, yeah, it's as much as we say we don't want to seek external validation and you want to have unconditional love, but like that unconditional self-love is that your self-love isn't on condition on your body size either. You love yourself, whatever size you are. And yeah, oh, that's so important. And yeah, when you came up, this came up earlier too, and then I forgot, it escaped me. But yeah, this whole like Asian culture thinking like they're doing you a public service by telling you like, that's literally, and I'm sure you can resonate, that's how they greet you. It's like, oh, hi, oh, you got fat, oh, you got skinny, or like it's some comment on your body. And that kills me. And it's so hard to break that generational, like telling aunties and uncles or like parents that, and now with my kids, I say, as like, we don't comment on people's bodies, and I have to like be that bad person, that black sheep in my family, to tell the aunties and uncles and my papa and like the grandmas and stuff to not say that in front of my kids. Or they're like, oh, she's eating too much. And I'm like, don't ever say that to my kid. And it's so hard. How do you navigate that like conversation or dialogue within your family?
Yeah. I would say for me, it's still hard because, like, for me, I don't have a
Hmm.
lot of family in the US, so I am a bit shielded with that at times. But when I go to China to see family, I think it's definitely really annoying. And my Chinese is not that good for me to tell them to, like, that's not helpful,
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
example. But I think for me, it's like when I was in China, like the times like it has like really irked me. It's like for me, it's like journaling on my phone. Like I was just like typing up like what did they say and like kind of addressing the feelings. Other times, like, if family's open to listen, I'll try to explain in my broken Chinese why it's not
Yeah.
helpful to say that. But yeah, I'm hopeful that it's like an older generation, and hopefully like younger people kind of learn better to not say that. Because like even though it's kind of funny, like I see my observation is like all of the older generation they'll say it, but the people in my family who are like around my generation, it's not like we say that to each other, for
I don't
example, really.
know.
Like
I
like
know
the
people in
only
my generation that still,
like the
oh,
only
do I
time
look skinnier? I'm like,
I see that. Like they'll say you're skinny,
oh,
but I don't think they'll say you're fat. Like that's kind of also like in the
mm,
US, like someone
I still
would say
experience
like,
it.
okay, well, thankfully my family, I don't have a lot of extended family. Thank God.
Yeah, and it's so hard, and it's so, for me it's like so toxic for, yeah, the next generation to see that, and the younger kids who already have all this social media crap, you know, in their heads. And yeah, I get so irate. So that's why I had to ask that too, because it's just part of the culture. They do that, and it's not okay. And for me, yeah, it's like drawing the line sometimes. Like you got to pick your battles, right? Like I'm not really going to explain that to my grandma, but I try to explain to my mom, who does live in my house and like interacts with my kids every day, right? But yeah, that definitely comes up. And then you're saying how you lost weight before, one of the times you had returned home or returned to China to visit. And I think of now, I look back at pictures when I think every stage of my life I thought I was fat. Um, but then I look back in like my mid late 20s, I was like, I was actually so skinny. And I was like, now I'm fat. And I don't know why, like we just do that to ourselves, right? And now I've had two kids, so I'm like my body's completely out of whack and completely different. Um, but how do you feel when I know you've like posted a lot of content looking back at old pictures and stuff, like what comes up for you and what's the narrative and what comes up for you and what are the learnings and unlearnings that come up for you when you reflect on your past sizes and
Yeah.
selves?
I think kind of similar to you. It's like I remember looking back at my kid photos and I was like I mean, like I look like a happy, healthy kid, and it's like, why are like so many people commenting, like saying like I'm fat in a negative way? So like, obvious, like I wasn't thin, so like I'm like using fat more like a neutral descriptor, but it's like when people say you're fat, like they're saying it with a negative stigma as well. And for example, like kids don't always have to have like really slim and slender limbs. Like, what is the kid able to do? Like, my sister, she was really thin growing up, but like I was way stronger than her. I was the one going to swim class, playing tennis and stuff. Like, I was the one able to do all of these physical things, but the notice is just like I'm so big, for example. And it's kind of just like kind of sad. It's like it's that face value judgment of like Chinese families saying like, oh, you're fat or whatever, your body size is just like based on just looking at you without able to know like my sister's probably thin because like her body just wasn't that strong, and I ended up doing a lot of like picking up the groceries bags, for example, or helping out and doing all these things. And also when I look back, I'm just like, I guess like when I look back, I both see myself in those pictures in my like current eyes, but I also remember how I felt at those times looking at those pictures as well. And I'm just like, it's like kind of, it's like not sad. It is sad, but I'm just like thinking about like how I had felt back then. And like looking back, I'm like, high school Victoria, like you did so much to lay the foundation for who I am now, both in terms of like, you know, me laying the foundation academically to then lead to financial stability for me now to do whatever I want. But also just like Like, girl, like you were in high school.
Congratulations.
Like you were in high
Yeah.
school, like you were doing so much stuff, and like I wish you gave yourself more permission to like dress up or you know, be able to enjoy your beauty back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're so in our heads then already too, and it is sad. You just want to like hold your like younger self, and it's funny when you say like your kid self. Yeah, when I was a kid, literally my nickname in Cantonese, I speak Canto. I know you speak Mandarin, right? In Canto, my Chinese name is Mun, and then it's like Munju. It was like Char Piggy, basically was like my Chinese
Hmm.
Cantonese nickname, and like I grew up with that. I was always like the little piggy, and I was the youngest. And like I remember, even like selling chocolates for school. My sisters would always like just shove me in the front and get me to go ask all the aunties and uncles because I was like the chubby, cute one. But I was
Hmm.
always the chubby one. I was always like the little piggy. And that shit sticks with you, yo. Like,
Yeah. And it's like pigs are cute, but like I or like not putting saying you knew it, but like I guess like there's a negative stigma about like why people
yeah,
are
yeah.
being called pigs. Like
Yeah. And even though it's like piggy, it's like still not cute to be called that when you're like a kid. And that sticks with you. And I just think of all the things that like our families could have done differently.
hmm.
But I don't hold resentment because it's like that's just part of the culture. They did the best they could, but just how can we change that? And so I love your platform and your content and how you're trying to change that narrative. And yeah, like you said, like coming together, people who can resonate with like, oh, the aunties and family members and uncles who like comment on your body, and how we can say when it's appropriate, when we're able to explain like that's not okay to say that. And for me, I feel I can take it now because yes, I'm a grown woman, but like I've worked on that. But then I just think of like my little niece and nephew and like the little kids in our families. Like I don't want them to hear that or see that. And you don't know where they're at and in their own personal lives, but then like in their personalities, how they can handle that kind of, and no one should have to take that. But I just think of that and it makes me so sad. And that's why I always think, yeah, that's why I was like so excited to have you on. Cause I was like, yeah, just someone who can resonate and talk about this. And it's just not just beauty standard in general. It's like, especially as Asian in the culture, it's like, it's ingrained in our culture and
Hmm.
many other cultures as well too. Right. And I know like my mother-in-law, I think I told her something about it. Like, and obviously even like academics and grades, it's a big thing. Like don't ever come home with anything less than an A sort of thing. And then I think we talked about beauty standards at one point. My mother-in-law, who's white, is just like horrified. She's like mortified. And I was like, it doesn't like phase me. And like, it's so weird and hard to try to explain that.
Yeah.
Um, because it's a cultural thing, not right or wrong. Well, maybe wrong, but so it's such a big cultural thing. And it's funny when you say for representation. I remember when Lucy Liu, she wasn't like the first Asian that became popular in Hollywood, but like when Lucy Liu kind of came to fame, and I remember people would be like, "Oh, you look like Lucy Liu." I was like, "Dude, I look nothing like her," and like it's just so I don't know. For people who don't know how I look like, it's Lucy Liu is Lucy Liu. She's like thin, got like your almond eyes. I don't know, is that okay to say?
Hmm.
And fair skin. And then I'm like tall, I'm big, I'm wide, I'm like brown in skin tone. I have like bigger eyes, like, but people would just like, oh, you look like Lucy Liu. I was like, that is,
No.
at that time I didn't know that was like a microaggression, but I was like, that is not what I look like. And that's why it is so nice to see that representation, and that people who don't necessarily have the almond eyes and don't have the fair skin and like the narrow skinny face or something like. So anyway, my big kudos is just appreciation for what you do and putting yourself out there fearlessly. And I know it was a journey to get here. What I'm going to let it wrap up a bit here, but anything else you want to add? Thank you for a great conversation, but anything else you want to add?
I guess one more point to add about like Asian family commenting. I guess another tactic is sometimes I just gotta let it go one ear and go out the other ear and just be like,
Mm,
like I'm not gonna be able to change their 50 plus years of life of doing this. Or like even things like my mom, like we were in China, she's like, oh, remember to weigh yourself so you make sure you don't gain weight. And I was just like, forget it, I'm not gonna respond. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. You can do that.
my family, I don't know if they do it Yeah, we had a family vacation in Hong Kong and they all weighed themselves before the vacation. And I was like, nope. Knowing my little family is my oldest was 4 at the time. I was like, nope, we don't play with the scale. It's like, it's not for fun. I was like, it's for health reasons. So you can do it when you do it for health reasons or with the doctor. And so that's the best. And I had to just leave it because I was so enraged. Yeah. And I had to leave it. And so, I mean, also kudos to you for that in one ear, out one ear. Cause I'm like, I was just telling someone yesterday, I was like, I cannot not say anything sometimes. And I'm learning to give myself that grace. Yeah. But it is hard. I like to ask my guests as I wrap up, I name my episodes after like a 90s, 2000s song usually, because that's just my jam. I'm a millennial. But if you had to choose one song as your anthem right now, what would it be and why?
I would say, growing up, I really liked listening to Hilary Duff. So it'd be her song, Why Not? Because it's like, why not take a crazy chance? Why not do a silly dance? If you always wear yellow, but you always want to wear gold, something like that. But it's like, for example, like that if you want to wear gold, but you're always wearing yellow, it's like that similar thing of like, for example, me, like, or what we were talking about earlier, what do you do in secrecy? What is it that you're interested in? Like, why can't you give yourself permission to do that? And I just really like that sentiment, that song. So yeah, that will be the song I, would pick from listening as a kid to, I still like listening to it now. Why not?
I love that. Why not? I don't think I listened to Hilary Duff very much. So now I'm going to have to go look. I know that song. I know which song it is. So I'm going to look it up and listen to the lyrics more clearly. Thank you. Thank you so much, Vicky. How can the listeners find you and connect with you if they'd like to?
Yeah, so I am Midsize Asian Queen, and I primarily post on Instagram, but I also post similar content on TikTok and YouTube. Recently, I worked with a friend. She has a brand called Moiji, so that's like Little Sister Pig.
Okay.
So it's a similar idea. Like
what a coincidence!
She would be called that growing up. And so we collaborate together to create these self-love and body positivity stickers. And so if you want to check it out, check out Moiji Studio, Muiji. And yeah, I have the stickers with me, and it's like a nice little reminder for myself for the times that I do feel down. So check that out. And
oh my gosh, I love that. I'll have to get some. Yes, I'll make sure the links.
You can see this one.
Oh, I totally need that. Okay, I'm going to get some.
That's my superpower.
Thanks for contributing to my spending habits. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to. I'll get that link from you too for the stickers, and I'll include that in the show notes. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time and energy and a great conversation, Vicky. Best of luck with your message and your platform. I love what you're doing. Keep doing it and keep taking up space and showing up. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the Shar Hotline. I hope you're walking away feeling seen, supported, and a little more at home in yourself. Healing isn't always easy, but remember, you don't have to do this alone. I got you. Every time you choose self-love, self-trust, and self-compassion, you're rewriting old stories and stepping into your damn power. And I'm all about helping you get there. Got a burning question, a messy situation, or a soul shift you're navigating? Please feel free to slide into my inbox with a Dear Shar letter at sharwongrichardson.com/Dear Shar, or check the show notes for the link. And let's unpack it together in a future episode. Until next time, love yourself first, always. Your hype woman, Shar.